the masses have decided, when you were talking about Richard, as far as the community and self-interest is concerned, that they are no longer subscribing to this self-interest idea. Is more of an awakening. So the things that would have normally easily prevailed are basically fighting against resistance now. So something that just seemingly just had just gone and has gone many times in the past quite smoothly, basically holding people handcuffs, and then all of a sudden you have a ridiculous negotiation is all of a sudden like it's just looking ridiculous. But it's because the masses have decided to do that. They don't realize necessarily on the spiritual level what's going on, but that's what they have decided to do. In regards to the young lady who was shot, I think that was just a situation where control was trying to be asserted, but desperately asserted. So it wasn't necessary, no, but if you're in any type of situation where you're in power and control, or you're trying to maintain that power and control, and where you were is slipping away, you have to try to show that power. There's no need for some type of ridiculous amount of power and control to be shown over something that you know for sure that you already control. It's just unnecessary. You don't, I mean, just think about it. It's only when you feel those things are necessary. So I think on the spiritual level, that is actually what's taking place. There's a transitioning that's underlying all of this. I mean, just think about, just if you want to look at it from a political standpoint, how ridiculous they're letting us default on our debt. No one on any side in the political arena and the upper echelons or whatever want that to happen, because all of them stand to lose. So that's the last thing that is going to happen. I believe anyway.
I don't know.
Well, I agree. I think that anything, the last thing that anything that could touch my wealth or have impact on my wealth, because that's money is my God, I don't want to happen. And so in the physical, I agree with that. That's the last thing that people of means, I mean real means, want to happen. And so I don't believe it'll happen just because of that.
Well, I understand, and I tend to agree with that, but I think it's unfortunate then that, because nothing will be any different yesterday than it was tomorrow, they'll just make the decision tomorrow. So you have this brinksmanship. We'll wait until 2 minutes before midnight, and then we'll find an agreement.
But what we have to do, though...
It is, though, Richard. It is. The reason being is because you have the masses who actually realize that. I mean, yes, I know I do not want that mother to go without food and things like that. No, I do not want that to happen at all. But the more and more that the greed of the people with means, the more that they push the others who they are basically just tricking and sucking dry, the other people will wake up and then, for the most part, realize who they are, if you want to think about it in the spiritual sense, and actually stand up and become who they are.
And I think
So,
I think there's so much more pushback this time from the masses than the last time that this happened. In so many different ways. And I think the pushback is coming from so many diverse ways. You talk about, all you need is the one-pointed story about the child who's waiting for the trial, the clinical trial that they can't get, or the military people that came back and they died for the, all of those are different, diverse means of pushing back and saying, what the heck is going on? It gets people's attention. What the heck is going on? So the pushback is a little different this time than last time.
Well, I think you're right, because we don't hear much about it. But I have heard one or two little glimmers in the news sources that congressional offices have been getting a huge number of phone calls and emails from their constituencies. particularly when they start talking about delaying Social Security and that kind of thing. So, I mean, I guess a sort of limit was reached, and then people start saying, hey, because at the end of the day, it's something that touches them, I guess. So,
I mean, all you need is this poll.
but
It's like you have to have a poll to get people's attention. The poll says that people do not like you more than they like you. Give me a break. Well, I think what we're called to do is to not be distracted by the distractions and say that this is a good thing that happened.
Yes.
Even though people who are hurting don't perceive. I understand that. But our role is to look at the macro and say that it had to happen. It's a good thing that happened because it does push people when they're squeezed to seek inside themselves for answers and questions, and not just outside where other people seemingly are holding the purse strings. Those purse strings mean nothing if we default. Those purse strings mean nothing.
I guess I'm a little more skeptical. I don't want to say cynical, because I think I wouldn't use the word good thing. I would just say necessary in terms of the road we've been on for some time.
Fine, whatever
And we
word you want to use.
That's right. And all this is coming out of us.
I'll go with necessary.
Well, because I can say the other two easily. But if my concern would be, again, sure, it's an opportunity for learning, for establishing connection. But I think what happens more often is we'll go back to another level of comfort and ignore a lot of the underlying things. Now, if you say that we're doing that, but we're doing that at a different level of awareness, so in a small way, quote unquote, progress has been made. Maybe. Or maybe most people, all I care about is my checks show up on time and then life is good again. Right? I don't have to go into all those other things. The systemic things, or my neighbor versus me things.
My point is, though, we have to stay above that fray. And if we're setting the course, and if we're calling those things that be not as though they were, in a sense, then we are helping to set the direction that not only are you going to have those people rich to go back to business as usual afterwards, but we are saying that we are not distracted by all this stuff, and that there are going to be a number of people who are not going to go back to business as usual, because they were able to gain some insight about who they are spiritually. And that's what we're called to do. We can't just stay in the fray and we can say the woe is me for a time, but we are called to get out of that woe is me. I mean, I also lay down the snot sometime and cry, and okay, when you tired of doing that, okay, do what you're supposed to do. And what we're about is pulling from the spiritual those things that we see in all of this chaos. Because there is light in all of this chaos. And so by our saying it, it puts it in the macro. And maybe those people who haven't even thought about it, because it's in the macro, when there's something that happens to them, the check is late or whatever, that they're going to be able to pull on that. And so that's why I don't want, I think we can do we can go into what happened and all, but out of all of this, we need to leave on one accord that, hey, it's necessary that it happened, and this is the reason why it's necessary. That there's, with all of this darkness, it gives the opportunity for so much more light to be infused. Yeah. And we see it, obviously, because of the light that's already being infused. So we are able to see through it. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying. I don't know if that resonates or not.
Creativity and something new always comes out of chaos. It's not create something that is very creative and new does not come from something that's already structured and put together. That thing that is structured and put together may be changed and altered, but at the same time, it is limited. So I agree exactly with Ms. Barbara, and what I was thinking is, I'm actually thankful for the hubris and arrogance of certain groups because it allows us to easily hold a door open for others to pass through. Whether or not they decide to do that, we cannot make them. That is their choice, just as if we have had a choice as well. But the point is even if there's a small amount of people, I mean, it's exponential.
That's the big.
Full stop.
He looked like he's frozen. Blink your eyes on it.
He's using the period of silence for us to be comfortable with ourselves. I just also want to say that if we pull back further than the 30,000, you know, the stuff that we're seeing here, it happens on such a much larger scale somewhere else on the planet.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's just in our face right now, but there are people who live with stuff like this on a day-to-day basis that we don't even hear about. So we talk about the lady who was killed. There are people who brutishly killed for no reason at all, shot dead or whatever. Mexico, Africa, whatever. And so, again, Richard, you brought up the word community. We've lost the sense of community we get for ourselves alone in the heck with the community. And we have to remember that the community is not just us and our country, but the community is the world. Our community is the world. So what we say and do impacts not only us here, but everybody.
When you were talking about that, I was thinking about many of the homeless people I see on the street. The furlough has not bothered them at all. It's just, you know, business as usual. And those are the people who we don't think about at all. Definitely, also, I've been thinking about them now that I see them, and it's been getting colder outside as well. So.
Actually, it has affected that a little. Some of the food banks have shut down. Yeah. We're all interconnected. It's not quite that, but I understand your point. Yeah. Well, I mean, you could say this about the third world. You look at us and go, you know, that wasn't part of my life anyway. But still, that's a minimalist view of what we're capable of. But I guess feel maybe it's a form of exceptionalism in a different way, that to those who are given, you know, and we do, to go back to the brutality and the commonness of what goes on in the world, which I'm aware of very often. I mean, if you look at the statistics on a daily basis, it's amazing. And they're actually better than they used to be, but still.
So I have a question.
But it's our position, if you like, or our place. So there is a shouldn't we be doing better with ourselves because of the synergistic impact of that on other communities around the planet. But at the end of the day, you can't be what you can't be. So.
Okay, well, on a spiritual level, if an individual displays, or I don't want to say displays, feels, I should say, a sense of exceptionalism, is it then good that that person be put in a situation so that they can relate to others, the many more others who do not have necessarily the same lifestyle that they have? Is that a good thing or a bad thing, that they now come into that understanding?
You say that the exceptional person be exposed to people who don't think they're exceptional?
Yes, I mean, this country is roughly 350 million people. That's it. We know the population of the world is 7 million. So relatively speaking, if we were to look at our country as a whole, if you want to look at it from that level, we are the minority in terms of numbers. Therefore, as a country or the average person in this country, we live a lot better than everyone else around the world. So if it takes for us to actually go through something like this as this country, to be able to relate with others and have compassion and empathy and sympathy for them, is that then a good thing? Because that in itself is pushing us more to that community that you're actually talking about. Because the community is everything. The community just doesn't stop within this country's natural borders. Is that not a good thing, or is that not an actual elevation of one's life and sense of who they are, that they are connected to this other person now that they see things from a different perspective?
Richard says it's a necessary thing. So yes,
Well, I mean, at the end of the day,
it's a necessary thing.
I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to self and what's going on inside of you, so to speak, right? But the fact that you've leveraged yourself through your own purposes or your society on your behalf or whatever to have such an impact on how others are able to see themselves or find hope or whatever, it does place, in the context of this world, to me, a certain responsibility on, if you were doing a better job with yourself, the synergistic effect from that, the ripple effect from that, would be pretty effective.
That's why it's necessary that we have this mirror to look at how very far short of what you just said we really are.
No, I'm not.
Oh, no, I'm not.
If anything, I'm just,
I'm
even
agreeing with
myself,
I'm simply commenting.
Yeah.
I'm simply saying, I'm piggybacking on what you said.
Yes.
That's all I'm doing. I'm saying, yes, indeed. That's why it's necessary for this mirror, because we should be doing more. We should be more empathic. We have more. And if we were truly the spiritual people that we were supposed to be, we would be giving, we would be receiving for the purpose of sharing. So, and you're right. We're not doing it. We're not.
yeah, I think to paraphrase, I mean, to take out of context, but in a way, not what Malcolm X said. This is the chickens coming home to roost. And the rest of the world is sort of
looking at us.
watching.
Yeah.
And I think hopeful that at least what comes out the other end of this, so to speak, is something quote unquote better.
I think you're right, because they know that a lot of their future is tied to what happens here, and there are many people worldwide who want us to get it together.
Mm-hmm. A variety of different reasons.
Yes.
Huh?
Except for a variety of different reasons for us to get it together.
Probably a lot selfish,
Well, I mean,
like we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they've got their own self-made dilemmas and things. But you know, if you're in a room, 3 or 4 or 5 people, and somebody, quote unquote, finds a certain enlightenment, it ripples. I mean, we have friends, and I don't have the personal experience, but I believe them enough. We knew them a long time ago. It said you meditate when 2 or, well, what's up? To me, it's sort of the definition of when 2 or 3 are gathered together. It just adds up to more than when one is. Doesn't mean the one isn't ultimately connected to the whole and all that, but so you do have more influence. You can have a bigger effect. A smaller change can have a bigger effect overall. So.
And you just come back around to what we were talking about before, what our purpose is. We are the 2 or the 3 that are gathered together.
And the
Yeah.
room is huge.
And we have to believe that.
Mm-hmm.
This is simply you punishing Nick or Steven when they were little, and this is their lesson. And you're becoming a teacher, Richard.
No, I'm being taught.
Huh?
I'm being taught.
You're being taught?
I'm not a teacher.
Uh,
That's- yeah, I'm Dustin Hoffman in Little Big Man, one of my all-time favorite movies. If you've never seen that movie, go see it. It's just a guy trying to find his way through the chaos of life. Some honesty. Anyway. Well, so what are we saying? I guess this needs to be. The only thing I say is it's always a decision at the end. I guess from my own personal experience and what happened in my family and things, you don't have to change it all. But a simple decision to change or something that precipitates that change can have a tremendous effect.
But there is always
You know, when that
opportunity.
butterfly decides to flap his wings, stuff happens. You can just sit there and not flap his wings. You know? So that's all. I just want to be hopeful that whatever it takes, cancer research that can't go forward, salmonella outbreak now that CDC or flu epidemic that, can't be dealt with because of this lunacy, whatever death benefits, whatever triggers some people to say, wait a minute, think for themselves, so to speak.
Well, if nothing else, it is a really great example of what our taxes do. People like to pretend like nothing happens with that money.
It should change the law so that if this happens, their salary is first cut off.
Yeah, but you got millionaires, it won't bother them. It's bigger, it's about power.
Still.
It's about, for some of them it will, but some of them are just caught up in their own egotistical
Oh,
self.
I think you're right.
It's about
That's
power.
why they
It
should
really doesn't make any
the
difference.
first to cut off.
It doesn't make any difference.
They are the closest thing to God that they have. They themselves is their own God. And anything that comes up against it, any perceived power that comes up against it, you take their money. That's just what they contribute annually in quote unquote church.
Maybe, but they might make some better decisions if that would happen. They might be a little
Maybe
more
some of the newer ones who don't have their
reticent
money.
to do it.
Are there newer ones that don't have any money?
Well, yeah, some freshmen. There's some freshmen who got in there
Well, they're coming
on the
from
Tea
those
Party wave that are
black
not
districts
necessarily
where,
wealthy.
Mhm.
I just think what that they are gonna be by the time they leave. It's just corruption.
I mean, the irony to me is I've lived in 6 countries where this is common. You know? It's just interesting to see us
How we react.
dumbed
Not
down
respond,
to that level
react.
as opposed to raise up everybody else. We're becoming them. Actually, they're becoming more what we were, or we think we want to be. And we're going backwards, it seems like. But
I wonder
sometimes
that
you
there
have to
was
go, it's a walk.
there was never really any difference. It
Well,
was
it's a
just
dance. Sometimes you have to go
cleaned
backwards
up
to go
and
forward.
polished and looked nice. But I mean, you pull back the
Facade.
covers, it is exactly the same. It probably always has been. Like a small group of angry, bitter people with money control everything, and that's what it is. God help the poor and the
paradoxically,
brown.
because of them, there won't be a shutdown.
Because of who?
Wall Street and even the Koch brothers now are saying stop this stupidity because somebody did the math. It's not because of the guy who didn't get the young lady who didn't get the cancer drugs. So, a quote unquote man-made catastrophes averted. What's learned?
Maybe they got salmonella poisoning. How rich you are. Food supply is nothing to play with. They all have to eat.
Well, did you hear, there's some research that came out a few weeks ago that said that actually the super rich, so to speak, are much less healthy than you'd think they'd be? Because they've been eating too much sushi and stuff like that? Too much lobster and too much food which has, mercury and other stuff in it? Anyway, I thought that was a small interesting point. But it's just stuff.
So are there any other things that have been going on in anyone's personal life or anything that took place over the course of this past week or anything like that?
In Mexico.
Say it again.
Went to Mexico.
Did you go to Mexico now?
Yeah, just got back from Mexico.
Oh.
About it.
You don't have any questions about Mexico?
And what?
Yeah.
You're sorry you came back?
They're
Or
going
happy you came
through a lot of stuff over there.
back?
How
Saw a
long were
lot
you
of
there?
stuff. How long? It was a week. Sad.
Where'd you go?
I actually went to Mexico, went to Belize, went to Costa Maya, and so
Part of a group?
I just didn't work. And yeah, it was pretty sad.
What was said about it?
A lot of people are struggling. The whole, it looked like the place was so run down. You can see
Where,
the,
what place? I mean, Mexico's a huge country. Where?
Well, I'll put it like this. The place where we ported at, because we took a cruise there,
Ah.
and everything seemed really run down. Buildings seemed really shoddy. Seemed like nobody had air conditioning. I turned really dark. really, really dark.
Was that a surprise? Was that the first time in your life?
Oh yeah. That was
Well, I guess you
surprise.
learned something about yourself.
But yeah, it really seemed like they were really struggling over it really bad. It really did. It was really sad.
Well, turn that around. Did you see anything positive? I mean, any, despite that, and I assume it's materialistically shoddy or simple, energy, laughter?
I didn't see any of that.
Oh dear.
I saw soldiers with M16s and everything.
Where?
This was in, actually, was this Belize?
Belize, and some of the
Belize.
areas they still carry the guns and they still have checkpoints.
Hey, they did that all over Africa.
Come to Haiti.
And Haiti.
You only got one gun?
You like, oh, they only got one?
You're only showing one gun.
Yeah, they were only
A little
showing.
unsettling at first.
Yeah.
Anyway. So what did you, if you wanted, you don't have to say anything. What's a sense of, what's your takeaway? What did you learn? What do you do with that happiness or something? What is it?
Since I wanted to run back to the ship. But
wow.
Wow.
Good thing y'all got on that boat a long time.
Now you're back to Muhammad Ali's country.
That's some place I really want to go back. It was
That's what we used to say. You should have.
Thank
It
God
was
your
very-
grandparents survived the crossing.
the survival portion was really harsh. Speaking to some,
I guess you can say people were just trying to make it. A lot of people have their own business on the street. Let's say you can have a slew business, maybe about 10 businesses in a row. Let's say if only one business, let's say they make $10 or 10 pesos. So they gotta split that up through the whole group. So how do you divide that up between everybody? kind of hard.
However,
That's
It's,
because they're thinking community-wise.
Yeah.
which is true.
These are the little businesses that cater to the cruise ships?
They
Or did
can-
you get into town where
No,
people had sort of
and-
normal
In
situations?
Costa Maya, I got into town and it was pretty poor there. The little horse and they had the little horse and buggies, the cars, the streets, everything was pretty run down and actually I had this guy try to buy me a ring, sell me a wedding band, a $200 ring. He went all the way down to $40. I was like, sir, I can't take your ring. He said, well, what will you buy it for? I said, I don't want it, sir. I said, that's me taking advantage of you. I said, I don't want to do that, sir.
just give them the $40.
Give
That's the insult.
them the $40, the ring costs 10.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is this the first time you've done this?
To Mexico?
No, anywhere like this, on a cruise ship or whatever.
Oh, no, this was my second time. This was my wife's first time. So. But yeah, this is the first time I've seen something that's tragic. Even Jamaica, when I went to Jamaica, it was kind of, but it didn't seem as raw as Mexico. So.
We got to just ride around some places in the United States.
Same thing.
I'm sorry.
You don't have to leave the state you live in, my dear.
That's right.
We have third world statistics right here in South Carolina. Child mortality, maternal mortality. It ain't good
Domestic
everywhere.
violence.
And I guess
At
what
least
you're
we're
saying
number
is
one.
I
in
am
something,
my,
right?
I am Jamaican, I am the Mexican.
Yeah,
So that's,
I am the struggler.
that's what I get out of what Matt said. You
Yeah.
know, he's just able to see a different
right.
side and the struggles of people, but the thing that we have to remember is I am that person. We are one. Whether it's the place you ride around the United
Right.
States or
Right.
wherever.
Well, at least, I mean, it gives you the opportunity to be affected by it.
Right.
But, and the first reactions don't have to mean anything. Yeah, get me on that boat, let me get back to eating too much, drinking too much, and just getting out of here. But over time,
All that fakes.
but I think this is, and it's not peculiar to the United States. If you can imagine, most people in most countries have no idea what anybody lives like anywhere else. But their ideas are distorted by the media.
Exactly.
So they have all these glorious ideas about, there are people who come to the United States and leave.
Yeah, everything distorted.
You know, when they united Germany, there were people who came from Eastern Germany, and because they were so used to being told what to do, they couldn't handle the freedom, so to speak, in the West, and they went back. So there's a lot more, and I'm not saying what you should do with that, but just to be aware of that kind of makes you realize it ain't so perfect here and so bad there. It's much more of a continuum.
Right.
So we are. And then that's not even looking at how some of those, what were the circumstances in the history of the area you went in that helped to create that situation you saw there when you were there. Anyway. This is what we should be exposing ourselves to in some way in our education system, history and things like that. It's right there. And now with Skyping and stuff, you can be connected to people in these countries and see them face to face and talk to them. Kids talking to kids, stuff like that.
People were really humble. I'd say that. They were really in need.
Huh?
I was thinking the same thing too, Andre.
You know what?
How are we gonna get on Skype?
This-
They don't even have electricity.
Oh. Well, yes, I did spend a lot of money.
Small issue. Small. Electricity, internet.
Well, there are educational programs for with AID that does push it, but yeah, but there are ways. I'm not saying every community. Good Lord, I didn't hear anymore.
There was like too many y'all laughing.
No, to me, what struck me is you kind of equated some of it to air conditioning. And we're so used to air conditioning, but it's just us. It's just air conditioning.
Yeah.
Right, it's just us.
Even Europe doesn't have air conditioning.
Right.
So, it's just interesting that you would equate it.
Yeah, I mentioned that because it was one shop that I went in that had air conditioning. It had air conditioning and they had ceiling fan.
And you didn't want?
Say it again?
They had air conditioning and a ceiling fan.
They had air conditioning and ceiling fan. And I was shocked. And I was like, wow. Because the heat that bothered me, it bothered my wife. I was like, what in here? Is air conditioning here? Stay here. But I was kind of shocked and kind of amazed. But everybody else was really kind of like running around like with a chicken, like a chicken with their head cut off.
It's just that, when we get too overheated,
So
we
that was
go
the
in
reason
the
you
house
didn't
to the
decide.
air conditioning.
That's all.
But most
Nobody
people in the
can
world
tell you.
have none, no, anywhere.
Yeah.
They can't escape.
But also, those who have never experienced air conditioning have no idea what they're missing. So
It's true.
that problem doesn't really exist. It's just like, this is normal. I'm hot.
Well, it was like that for us. Well, when I was growing up, we didn't have any air conditioning. We had the window. You let the window up.
That's how I
We
grew
were
up. We had a
conditioned
little window
to
fan.
that condition. So, hey,
Yes, you
yeah,
get accustomed to it.
yeah, hey.
Yeah, you
So
don't run
is-
around in the middle of the day.
So when you look at it from
Stay
that
outside all
perspective,
day.
when you look at it from that perspective, that's not necessarily a problem that that person themselves actually experience. Yes, it's a bit uncomfortable, but it's not as big of a deal as we make it sound.
Yeah.
And so we have basically pushed a problem or made a problem bigger upon them. Like, hey, you're hot, you're sweating, you need air conditioning. No, it's not okay. It's 85 degrees in this room.
No, but
And what you really saying is, you need it so I can have it. There you go.
By all means, I just find it strange for one particular shop to have it, and nobody else had it. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
So he was getting his money from somewhere else. I wonder where.
Or it could have been
The air conditioning is
a selfish thing. I had
that's very common. A lot
come
of
in
people,
for a break.
wow.
We never know.
But you want to have some fun, get on a local bus.
That's
Or go, especially go to India and get on a bus. First of all, you're smashed in there. Number two, everybody smells like they would normally have body odor and smell. So you learn that when everybody smells, nobody smells.
Well,
And you haven't spent enough
I
time.
would love to have a camera to capture that.
I'm exaggerating, but then you haven't spent enough time there. You're still going, I know I can get back to my hotel room. I know I can get back to the United States. All I gotta do is hold my breath for 2 weeks.
I know, you get used to it. It takes a couple
Or
days.
something as simple as I can remember, I think once, or certainly other people, you get on a really crowded bus. And this is so, we don't do this, of course, we don't have those crowded kind of buses. And you're with a baby. People hand the baby in the bus. And the baby goes to the back of the bus. People are holding the baby up while that person gets on. And then they give the baby back to you. It's just what people do.
Yeah.
It's something wonderful about it.
That is
Yeah.
wonderful.
That's just-
We were terrified to let other people touch us or our children or our
Yeah.
things.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. I have a conniption you said
who
my
touching in
child.
America? I
Anyway,
don't know where we got that from with the no touching. Is that
Space.
Puritans or
My space, it's everything.
It's
Selfishness?
It's
Like
yours.
what?
It's your child. It's not. It's your child and your space.
It's like
In
our
that sense,
land. This is my land, but this is my space.
Yeah, where did we come up with this whole thing? This is my area.
Well, but I mean, on one hand, why not? A little bit of it is your responsibility. On the other hand, it's
Yeah,
my
yeah,
child
that's
as if it was property, my property. And
Yeah.
everybody else is like, they know that. They're not trying to be a threat, they're just trying to help you out. You know?
So interesting.
Anyway,
Well, they also have the concept of, it does take
The village to raise the child.
or the village is there, why not use it?
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah. And they have problems too. I mean,
But the village isn't the same anymore. You got all kind of people out there now, and
I
It's just
think
not the same.
we abandoned the concept. And
yeah.
everybody thinks, this is my child,
Mm.
I'm gonna raise him my way,
or ignore them, whatever.
or ignore him my way. And you don't have any say in it.
Where does everybody, a lot of people come with the concept that I'm right in whatever I do, and you can't tell me I'm wrong. What is that?
So, I have a question, and I have two things to say as well. With all that we've said today, we've actually talked about, the world at large is a reflection of what lies within us. And that is because we see through the eyes of what lies within us as well. So, with that being said, what does that mean?
Say again?
One of them is that we see what we notice in the world, our perception of it. Our perception is always of what actually lies within us, because that is through the eyes that we actually see a thing. Is a mirror, is a reflection. And then I also said everything that we notice, looking at it from a different perspective, funny, no pun intended, but the world and what we see also is what lies within us. So what is actually taking place on a larger scale is taking place inside of us. And what we actually see on the outside that we think is taking place on a larger scale beyond our body is because of what is in us, because that is almost your way of thinking, I guess, or your way of feeling, etc. at the time. So you're pushing your feelings and your thoughts and things like that, and that's how you're interpreting the world. You interpret it through those particular lenses. So what are the implications of those two things? How does that relate to us all individually, and how we look at the same thing and we interpret it a different way?
It just says to me that we define our world by how we choose to perceive it. We define things by how we choose to perceive it.
Well,
I was thinking about it from a very more literal perspective of like, what is it inside of me that looks like a greedy congressman? It's funny, but I'm really thinking about this.
no, I think that's a good way.
Like, what kind of thoughts or energies
I
are taking
resonate
different
with
parts
your
of
saying
me,
it that way.
like hostage?
But I think that's all. It's twisting a little bit with, changing a little bit with what Sheldon was saying. But so you go to Belize, you go someplace, and you learn more about yourself. You can through what you see happening to other people, and asking yourself questions about how am I like that? How is that different or like me? Because sometimes you sit in a room. Let's take the other stream. You isolate yourself from the world, so to speak, and you meditate, and you try to find your connection and your true self, so to speak, that way. That's one way. That can be a very productive way, and it can be a very challenging way because of all the stuff that's in your head. Or you go and you interact in the world with other people, and you can do either things there. You can want to get back on the boat and just deny it, or you can be affected by it. So there's no one way to do it. And I think we're in this life to kind of structured to be the kind of being that we learn a lot from interacting with each other. So the less that happens, the more challenging it is for us to know what's going on even inside ourselves, I think. We can delude ourselves more easily. That's what I guess I'm saying.
Which is why it's a problem that we don't touch each other or
I
talk
mean,
to each other.
This is what they always say about the Peace Corps. You're going to learn more about yourself than you're going to learn about the village you're living in. And I just think, you know, the village will suffer through it. They'll manage. Because they're getting a little money.
They're
So
used to not having that.
they're used to these airhead Americans coming, hi, what's up? You know? How come you don't have air conditioning? Right, yeah.
But I'm back to, Janice, what you said, and you know, you have to make it vivid and real to you. What part of me is like that greedy congressman? What part of me is like those policemen who shot first and didn't bother to ask questions? Or what part of me, what is it inside of me that I've got to deal with? Because if we deal with it inside of ourselves, then we begin to see less of it, because we do influence other people. So, yeah, I mean, that just made it hit home for me.
Well, I mean, I was just sitting here thinking, I'm like, there are negative thoughts, energy, whatever, patterns that I have that take areas of my life hostage. And, you know, I see it happening, but there's chaos and confusion, and I don't know exactly how to fix it yet. Patiently waiting. But I mean, yeah, it's definitely happening on a smaller
Which is
scale.
exactly what is reflective of what's happening, being held hostage by whoever on a national level, and this chaos and confusion that has ensued. So.
And now everything is like it's in your face. You have to deal with it.
Yes.
Yeah. Even with it, like you say, with the government, it's in your face. You have to deal with this stuff.
I've been seeing it, that's for sure. My TV's
It's
not
still
on.
gonna be there.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's on NPR.
Well,
and all the
I do know,
websites
I
and-
think Audrey would support this, but I know when we've been outside working in other countries, I come back here and it doesn't take me very long and I start to feel stressed, and I just think Americans just can't get away from themselves. You 24/7 with this stuff. When I'm working in Kenya or something, I just turn the TV off and I go talk to Kenyans, and it's just, you know, life's different. So I think that's part of the thing. You can't get away from it, and you can get in and you can feel overwhelmed by it, and that makes it more challenging to just sort of sit down, breathe, and try to keep some simple connection and find your way through it. But yeah, but I like what you said, because I've said for a while, all of this that's happening is coming out of us. You know, ancient aliens, theorists beside, somebody just didn't land on this planet that we're aware of and create all this mess. So this is coming out of us. So where is it in us that it's coming out of? But then personalizing it, I think, is even better. What I would almost go to the point of saying, what would I have to act like to be like this jerky senator? And then you got to ask yourself if any of that resonates, you know, within yourself. You know what I mean? I have to be really selfish. This is, oh wait, you know. But yeah, so yeah, I think that is an exercise, and it's just a good exercise, I guess. In other words, maybe I'm really not so different from that. What's that all about? You know? We like to think, oh no, I could never, I'm nothing like that. And yet we have, you know, there but for fortune. That's another phrase that's been in my mind for 50 years. Ever since I first heard of it, it just resonated with me. Who says I couldn't pull out a gun and shoot somebody? If I didn't grow up, if I kept growing up the way I'd grown up, maybe I not only would not be the guy sitting in this room, married to Audrey, maybe I'd be one of those, what am I, 67? I'd be part of that minority that would say, hell no. We can't have a, well, I don't have any problem saying the N-word, but, you know, we can't, this guy doesn't deserve to be president. But that fine line of difference can make a whole different world, I guess. So, but I think too often we don't think, I could be this person. That could be me in Belize.
It is me and Belize.
Well, you gotta get there. The first place you start with is, how come I'm where, and then you can, and I've asked myself, so how did I get lucky enough to be born here like this and not there like them?
Lucky is
Luck.
relevant.
Well, then you gotta think yourself through all that, but if it comes out of you that way the first time, I can get back on the boat and I can leave.
You know,
You don't use the word luck, but that's what you're saying. I don't have to endure this, and then you think, wait a minute, and you just start going inside that feeling and see what you learn from it about yourself and how you see things. That's all. But you also, to do that, you need moments of quiet downtime, so to speak. And if we keep ourselves constantly connected and busy, where do you find the moments to reflect? So,
Well, that's probably what's wrong with our society. Everybody's on their phones, watching movies, watching TV. So there's no time to reflect. There's no time to go inside and figure out who you are.
well,
There's no time at all,
because of some
unless you take the time.
because of some insecurity in me, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I think that's part of a plan. If you're too busy to
probably
think,
right.
if I keep you too busy to think, I got you. I got you.
Or if I
And
can
then
tell
I'm
you
gonna-
what to think.
Then I'm going to tell you what to think about. You think you're listening to the music you want to listen to? No, you're not. You're listening to the options I gave you. All that stuff is in there. I'm not saying you can go to Mars and make your own music. It's not that easy, but you know, just be aware. I'm in the house a lot now, and some days I turn on my music and I know I can't have it that loud when I'm not alone in the house, but it is blaring and I love it. And then there are other times I don't want to hear anything.
Yeah. Yeah. TV as well.
And I can't tell you which experience is richer. It's just one meets one. Oh, it's a wonderful thing to just hit that remote button off. It's not that hard.
You can feel it. Once you hit the power button and go off, you're like,
Yeah.
And half the time, why do you turn it back on? Because you go, now what am I going to do?
I can't stand to cut mine off. I don't turn mine off.
More power to you. But I can tell you that you can wean yourself off it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Go someplace where they don't have TV. You miss it for 2 minutes because there's something else going on to take the place of it. You're probably out there sitting somewhere having a drink or a meal and talking to other people and things like that. You get the real reality TV is going on.
Real reality TV.
And I think we're to the point, we either gonna do it the way it's supposed to be, or we're gonna continue to go through and see the stuff that we see and the stuff that we have in our life. It's gonna continue to be right there in our face until we really deal with us.
Who's in control? Yeah.
And again, I think it all goes back to us not loving ourselves and not knowing who we are.
That's it.
All of you are very quiet. I can literally hear the clock ticking on the wall.
Well,
It's a good
we're
microphone.
reflecting on, I mean, that's true, right? So, but like my mother said, but once you pass 30, you can't blame your parents anymore.
You had a say something about the clock. 'Cause it seems like that clock is just getting louder and louder.
But I think there's a quality of forgiveness in this too, right? Because you can't be what you're not. The other person can't be what they're not. They are where they are, you are where you are, even if you're changing, so to speak, so. This notion that you're supposed to be somewhere else, farther along, whatever it is, that's all gotta go.
Which would mean that
And we need to
well, the
reinforce
things
that
that
in
I've
each
been
other.
thinking of all along while we've been talking recently, while I've been listening, is that with that being said, what someone actually notices. Well, first I want to say this. What's pretty much going on around here in New York City, I don't think it really changes from day to day as far as what is actually taking place. Let's say, for example, if I will leave right now and walk to class. The same exact things are taking place on the street, but what I notice or what I see all depends on me, whether that thing is good or whether that thing is bad. So with that said, and all the things that take place that we notice on Earth, is it not that all of these things have always been taking place or continuously take place? It's just a matter of us changing and us tuning, almost as if that is the journey itself. I'm not sure if I made any sense explaining what I'm trying to convey. It's very conceptual.
No, I think to me, what you're saying ultimately is self-awareness.
Yes.
It's awareness, and you would hope, connected to the definition of the word mature, is an expanding self-awareness, and then understanding in the context of what we said earlier, your notion of self is not so rigid, it begins and stops here as opposed to somebody else. It's fuzzy.
Yeah, because also when you were talking about, you actually said, wow, why am I so lucky to basically be born in this place in the United States, and compared to the other person. And I was just thinking to myself, how do you know the other person's not thinking the same exact thing? Like, ooh, I'm glad I was born here in Kenya. I don't have to go to the United States and experience all these things and these pressures and this busyness, or just running around like a chicken with my head cut off. Like, wow, I'm glad I was born here. Because as I hear you explain your experience in Kenya and places like that, it's like, man, I loved it. It was no TV, there was no distraction, it was relaxed, I got to be with myself, etc.
Is Kenya more family oriented?
Then what?
I'll say versus South Carolina, no, versus the U.S. versus Kenya, is it more family oriented? I mean, is it more so people more geared towards family, helping people out, or?
Well, I mean, it's my own view,
Yeah, your own view.
which doesn't have to be correct, so to
It
speak.
doesn't have to
in my
be correct.
experience.
And just rich.
Yes, yes, because they know they can't rely on things that we do external to ourselves. We think we have a safety net out there that protects us to a certain extent. In Kenya, you are your family, and you are, that's it. And the extended family, which could be cousins or close friends. You take a country like Haiti, which is a very extreme situation. It's very hard to make friends with people in Haiti, in my experience, and when Haitians talk to me. And you come as an American and you go, come on, what? No, why? Because you're here 3 years and you're gone. This is such a chaotic environment. My closest friends are the ones the friendships I formed the first 9 years of my life. And that's the way Haitians act. Because they know they're there forever. They don't, everything else is luxury, if you know what I mean. So if they're more comfortable about that, they can be more open to you. If they're not, they're polite, but you ain't getting in that. And I think a lot around the world, Americans are very friendly people, but we don't have a lot of, I don't know how you say it,
I
We know a lot of friends, you know what I mean? And I'm a perfect example of that. I spent my whole life moving, so it's been very hard to keep contact, but make connected. Other people are deeply connected, because those connections are what gives a lot of strength and substance to their life. They can't count on the state, they can't count on, I guess it was Allende's wife said once, one of the great things about the United States is you can move from Washington D.C. to California, you can change your name, you can go back to school, you can completely change your life. You can't do that anyplace else on the planet. So they don't suffer from that. There's certain things that come with it, but that bonds them closer to who and what they know, right? So there are a lot more family gatherings and things like that. But they don't love their kids any more than we do. In fact, they're tougher on their kids than I think we are. Because they know, particularly with education and stuff, you get one shot. If you got the chance and you don't take it. And one of the things that I always thought was a strength in the United States was, if you screw it up the first time, try again. You go to community college, you go to 4 other colleges. You can go to college until you're 40. But you can't do that other places. But I'm not sure it's the same anymore. But anyway. And there's violence, there's violence in the family like there is here. Maybe not the same way, the same degree, but you know. Anyway. They're human. But by our definition, you know, if you're going to go on a holiday, you probably go with a bunch of family members. You might go to the beach. You might stay in a very simple place, but there's food all over the place, and you're having family stuff. We go get a camper. We put a boat on it. We put a second car behind it. We put a motorcycle on top of it. You know, we come home and we're exhausted. That traditionally was, you know. So.
Can I change the subject for a minute?
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask, did anyone see LA Preachers? The Preachers of LA?
Oh, please, that's a reality.
It's a reality show. Sheldon, have you seen that yet?
I'm still having trouble with the land.
I haven't seen it. I just saw a small, not infomercial, but some type of like little preview show about it. Maybe like a couple minutes long. That's it.
Did they expose some real stuff?
It's a reality show, and it just shows the lifestyle that these people that have 3,500 members, how they live, and it's the same thing from where we left. We could pick up, we can go back and fit right in with them, or the same thing is there. But they were just showing they were just showing religion, period. And my question to everyone is, do you think that people will really see that church is a business and it's not life changing?
I see that that particular thing that you was talking about, and as I thought about it, it's the same exact thing, no different than the politicians basically saying, yes, we're laying you all off, we don't care about you, or we're furloughing you. But our staff gym, yes, we're going to have some employees at our staff gym, but no, your gym, no. Oh, the park, you going to go to the park? No, you're not going to the park. I go to the park if I want to go to the park. Like, I see it no different, so I just see everything as an opportunity to be exposed for people basically to wake up and see what's in front of them. So, like, I guess I think it's good.
I don't.
I see that because I see it in both situations. I see the hubris and the arrogance of those particular people just basically putting their cards on the table. Yes, this is what I'm doing to you. It's your choice whether or not you want to go along with it or not. So it's great. Like, I'm not even going to try to trick you anymore.
Yeah.
My sense is that all those reality shows pander. They pander to those little whatever they are feelings that you have. So who's going to be attracted to that kind of show? To me is the kind of person who thinks that the church is like this anyway. They're just demeaning the housewives of Pick Your Place. Kardashians, what are they telling you? This is quality, this is people struggling with real issues in their life? No. You know? So they're pandering to something in you that somehow, I
But
can't
it's
watch
still
it.
an opportunity.
I
Yeah,
can't
but
watch it.
the reason they're pandering is so that they are a mirror. If you want to call it pandering, whatever you want to call it, whatever I want to call it, it's in my face, and I have to it forces me to either accept it or introspect. Everything forces me to do that. Everything, like you just said, is about choice. And so I'm seeing this, and what do I do with it? How does it impact me? How does it affect me? What is it in me that draws me to this particular show? What is it in me that turns me off? And why? So all of those things, they're there because there are people who are there to watch them and who may not even ask the questions. But there are some that are going to ask the question.
Yeah, there are going to be some conversations
Yes.
in some households, and there will be some people who go, "That's why I don't go to church."
Exactly.
And there will be some who are like, "I don't understand. The praise of the Lord, it was great."
That's exactly.
But those conversations will happen.
But
Okay, well, I
people
guess-
have to make their own individual. I guess that's what all of this is about.
Right.
Whatever happens, this has been a really funny Saturday.
Yeah.
Not funny, haha, but funny in
Yeah.
that there have been lots of opportunities with what's been said to introspect. Because all of those pregnant pauses, all those pregnant silences that we seem to want to fill up rather than sitting and processing and taking it in and saying, okay, what does this really mean to me? How do I really feel about this? Is there anything in me that I really need to change my thoughts about? And that's what it's all about. Every single individual with everything, all of these distractions are there so that they can either see into them and get beyond them or not.
And that's the reason why I brought it up is because I know when we meet, and I'm not just saying here in the room, but when we're together, things get dealt with. And we may not see it right now, but I really want the world to see, those who don't see, that church is a business.
Yeah.
It's not life-changing, and it hurts. Sometimes I used to get mad at the church because of how it kept me in bondage, and I know I'm still in bondage with some things, but how it's not life-changing, and I'm just tired of the mess, and I don't know. I just want people to see that it's really a business. Now, there's churches out there who are really doing things, but very few.
Why do you think that show's on?
I think they're on it for the money, if you ask me.
No, not why the people are on it.
Oh,
That's another question, but that's an interesting question to me. Why would you be willing to do that? And maybe in some naiveness, and then you watch the first episode that you're on and go, wait a minute, you've got some idea of the impact. That's what you want? Housewives of whomever, that's what you want people to think of you?
Yeah, you don't get to see those episodes until they've filmed the season, though. I mean,
Well,
you're not
they've
gonna-
edited the heck out
Yeah,
of
they
it,
edit
and
them.
they
Yeah.
push a lot of dialogue, it's all fit, and it's all made. But I guess my point is not, what's the intent of those shows? And if you're gonna say that by accident people can learn, or if the intent is to expose, then the shocking thing to me is we've got a 5th grade maturity. If that's what it takes, because there's plenty of other ways to talk about the challenges, the business aspects, you know what I mean? About religion and church and things, not this kind of,
But
if
that's
this
where-
is the way,
But that's where a lot of people are.
Yeah, it depends on
How do we
the
get there?
level of that person and what they're actually receptive to. You can speak to many people, Richard, and many people are not going to understand anything that you're talking about because how intellectual you are. So how does this? I I do not mean this at all in a bad way whatsoever when I say it, but I'm only trying to convey something. So
It's not telling me you do.
Let's just say the ignorant person or this particular person. Let's think about the people who love the person who loves watching the households of not households. I've never watched one of the shows. Whatever the name of the show is.
Piggy
all of
Rich
you
is saying.
please stop that. That is it's households, whatever the show is. Let's think about
Housewives.
Housewives.
Are you saying?
No,
I know, we're not hearing the L and the D.
I was talking about
It might be what I But I agree with what you're saying though.
anyway, Richard, that particular person doesn't even want to talk to you because you're not entertaining to them. So they are being reached at the level that they're actually at. There are things that you want to watch. They're probably saying, "Oh, I just want to kill myself right now." There's no way in the world that I want to watch this.
Yeah.
Do it life.
You got a valid point.
So, I mean, that's where these particular people are. That's what they're going to open it. You have to reach people where they are at. So you have to go to their level.
Yeah.
And it doesn't require that the producers of that show have some esoteric intent, like to expose
Yeah.
people. It's just going to happen.
That I take your point more than I do his. No, because I wouldn't dignify. I would not say these are producers saying we have to show people what they're really like. No, that's crap. We're going to manipulate and exploit that because they're just like, moths to a flame. Wow, we got to watch this madness. But on the other hand, something can come out of it. Sure. Sure.
And that's what Evelyn's saying, like that, if, we set the desire in here that show,
So the
things
difference,
like that show,
but the difference to
expose
me, Evan,
people.
would be whether you can watch 5 minutes of it or you find yourself sitting through episode after episode after episode.
What
Well,
difference does
to me,
it
it doesn't
make?
matter.
Why judge someone
That's
based
right.
upon their television
No,
viewing
I
habits?
didn't judge
Like,
him. No, I didn't.
Fifth grade education? That's beneath you?
Well, then let me-
Come on now. This is a pretty
That's
hard
what you
thing.
said.
And some people just
Okay.
want to watch that crap for fun. Like, it doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. I'm
Yeah,
gonna be
it's-
honest with you. I do watch them.
I do too.
I like reality shows, but I do know a lot of it is not real. I'm not naive and say, oh, she literally lives. No, that's stupid. But
It's like,
for
it's
my
just junk
entertainment
food. Like,
purposes,
yeah.
It doesn't make
I
you or
watch
break
it. No, it doesn't. I don't go out and try to live like them and say, no, I don't follow that. But for my entertainment, if that's how I want to be entertained, I sit there and watch it, and I do watch it.
Yeah. It's not
Well, yeah, I mean,
It's no big
I
deal.
like the Atlanta Housewives, but it's such a train wreck.
helpful.
It's like, it's mesmerizing. It's like, how
But you know what? I laugh
Yeah.
at them too because it's
Yeah.
a train wreck and it's stupid, but it's entertaining.
And you can learn from anything.
Exactly.
You can.
I mean, so,
All right.
but that's me. Now,
No,
anybody else that
No, I
want to think
accept your
it's crap,
comments.
that's them too.
I'm-
So, it's like Barbara said, to each his own. Everybody has to
Mhm.
basically learn their own way.
Yeah.
So
yeah, everybody has to find
Okay,
their
so I revealed my little elitist self.
not getting on you, Richard.
Yeah,
at
we're
all.
not being.
No, that's. I was just saying hi.
Jump on me all you want.
I
No.
was. I was definitely fussing.
Richard was just being him.
And you were just being you.
That's the way that
Yeah, but
it
I
is.
guess if
with
I,
people.
to apologize for myself a little bit, all I'm doing is exaggerating that to, I can watch 5 minutes of Housewives of Atlanta, but I can't watch episode after episode.
Because
Why
it's
am I
not
getting
your
connected to this?
thing. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
That's all.
And yeah, I got it recorded.
Well, you gotta
I'm not gonna lie, I got
But
it
again,
going.
like I said, I wasn't fussing
Yeah,
at
but it's
Richard,
not-
but I was
well,
just explaining.
Okay,
That's
come on, I
that's
grew
how
up in
I.
the 60s. I know what your thing is all about, but there's a point beyond which you better pay attention to what your thing
Yeah.
is. If it's taking up that much time, energy, and, whatever. I can spend my 5 minutes sitting around the water cooler at the office going, can you believe what Kenya said to whomever?
So you really have been watching. You know the names.
I was like, I don't know who Kid is.
I was sitting here going, who's
I'm like,
You were watching
y'all know how old.
Yeah.
I don't know they
example of something, of somebody's idea of what appeals to them in whatever way it does. And it's just a microcosm of a macro kind of thing. You can apply culture to that. You can apply race. You can do anything. You can't box people in with your own perceptions. They have to find themselves in themselves.
Yes.
So wherever they are, they have to find who they are where they are.
Yeah.
And we can talk about it, we can talk to them, we can talk above them, we can talk down here. It doesn't matter. I have to find that thing that speaks to me, that asks the question to me, that challenges me to face me. And so, all of that is just, it's people's preferences. But the essence of the thing is, we can't judge. We can't overlay what we think on other people. But we can purpose that people have an intent to find out who they really are. And how they get there and what scenic routes they take,
It's on him.
that's their journey. That's their journey.
And the thing that speaks to you is the perfect thing. It is the best thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which will be different for different people, but that's the best and perfect thing for that individual.
I think we all learn on a different level. Like Sheldon say, if somebody talks to Richard, they're like, to me, that high level, discussion, intellectual level. Or some people you have to kind of, I hate to say it, dummy down and just kind of get real elementary with them. I don't know, that's me, but, people learn on different levels. That's just it.
Well, yeah, I understand what you said. The same lessons are in everything.
Right.
It's just depends on you and your way of finding those lessons.
Yeah. And
But the same lessons are in everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Okay, so we're gonna have more redneck vacations and stuff like that too, all right?
Same
No,
lessons are
whatever
there.
it takes. I'm gonna continue to watch Scandal. I know that. But
Now, that's
I'm
something
hooked.
different. Now, that's something different.
I'm watching Scandal.
Now, in my defense, I try my best not to look at any of those shows just because I don't want to get hooked on them.
Yeah.
And I know that all my time will be sucked up when I have to read and study and things like that. So for example, Breaking Bad and Scandal,
Trust
I
your
hear people
instincts.
it's good. I believe you. I know it's probably good. You watch episodes? No. Why are you not going to watch episodes? Because I'm
My
not
priority
getting
is
hooked.
this.
No.
It's
Trying to
television
finish
crash.
college.
That's what it
That's
is.
what it is.
Television crash.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Television crack.
I know.
I was on the pipe last night.
Although easier than crack to get off of, because if you miss one of your episodes, you've lost the whole thing.
No, you got demand.
No,
See, if you-
have.
Well, we're not talking about you right now. I'm saying just in
You fall
general.
behind, you get confused.
You got U-verse, you have demand. So,
Oh, demand, oh, I see.
yeah, so, it's a crack.
Hulu, yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah, so,
On the internet,
You
they
can
got all
wait a
that
whole
stuff.
year and catch it on Netflix. It doesn't matter.
I remember before I left my cousin in London called. Before I left and I was there, my cousin in London called and told me about some series, and I went and found it online. And I was supposed to be studying that Saturday. And next thing you knew, I had watched 6 episodes. So I told him, do not tell me about anything else. I was fussing at him. No, I'm not watching it.
Well, yeah.
What was the series?
Tell us.
I don't want to say.
Households.
Come on, Sheldon.
That was HOLDS.
I was just thinking. That was just Southern stuff coming out.
I'm gonna rag you about that for a minute.
At first,
Run the
Well, you could say it was a Freudian slip.
Even tag.
So you're seriously not gonna tell us what show it is?
No.
Talk to
Thank
him
you.
after the decision game.
I'll get it. I'll
Yeah,
share
but
with y'all when I find out.
if you think about it,
There's
it
something
almost
that
doesn't
needs-
matter what the show is, because they're all pretty much
So the
you
same.
know. So if you just don't have any of that reality, any of that, and then suddenly you're exposed to it, it almost doesn't matter what it is.
And every time they
You're
write-
you're saying Scandal because you've gone through all the other ones. No, that's the one I'm going to focus on, right? I'm amazed when I see all the advertisements, thinking, my God, you could get if you got hooked on 6 of these things because they're like 8 or whatever
Yeah,
out
it
there.
takes a lot of time.
You never do it.
Yeah, you wouldn't go to work or nothing.
I don't like
But
all
you
the
need
fuss.
one every night
Okay,
because you
fuss.
can't. You're stuck now like me because I'm a little ambivalent about this season of Scandal. I don't know if I want to go through it again.
You sound like you've been battered.
Because you gotta wait.
It's a drug of his choice.
Because I gotta wait 7 days for another hit. And I think this all started with that 24-hour show.
Yeah.
Because they knew that if you just moved that fast and there were so many cross things, you know, people couldn't figure it out, and then you're talking about it at the office and all that crap, and then the next thing you know, it's only Tuesday. Oh God, how am I gonna make it till Thursday?
So what has today been about? What has today's discussion been about? Well, yeah, distractions, yes.
That's
And we
probably
each
the
have
perfect
our
one.
own. I
Yes.
mean, you know. What?
Distractions and opportunities.
Selfishness.
Distractions are opportunities.
Mhm.
And lessons.
Life lessons.
So even our discussion of day-to-day stuff, guys, the point is, we can set some direction, even in the discussions, in the routine discussions. And Sheldon can pull out what he hears in each of you if you desire to. If you heard something, you talked about scandals and opportunities. Scandals are opportunities, but distractions are opportunities is one of the threads. Matt, you said something about selfishness and that our desire is not to be selfish but to receive, to give. I think it's one of the other concepts that we talked about today. So let's put that on out there in the macro, that whatever we see as a distraction, when we see people being greedy, our desire is that we receive to give. And I don't mean us, just us, that mankind receives to give. Another thing I've heard is people have different journeys, and if they can find the life lessons for them within the structure of their journey, then that was designed for them, because whatever it is what captures their attention. And when something captures your attention, it causes you to reflect. And as Richard said, you can choose to act on that reflection and introspect, or you can choose to just go on through it and act like it didn't happen. But those are the decisions we make every day. So our intent, though, is that in any of this, however people do it, however people find their way and find who they are, that they know the Creator, and that they are one with the Creator, however that occurs. So it's not to be judgmental, it's just say, well, whatever your journey is, that's the desire. So my point is, it's not been a wasted discussion.
Yeah.
No, it's not always.
I mean, you can pull those threads out of anything we talk about, and therein is the essence of who we are. We can always focus on that truth, and that's what other people, at some point in time, will begin to do and see in their lives. That doesn't matter what happens to me, doesn't matter where I live, doesn't matter the circumstances where I find myself. The kernel of truth is in me, is within within not my body, but within me. So.
Gator boys.
Don't you got anything else?
I gotta watch that so I can learn more about you.
Anybody got anything else? Good to see you, Matt.
You at home? I was determined to find my way back. Back here.
Make it sound like you had to swim, Matt.
No, I was walking it. I was walking it. I was walking it. That's all a little bit.
The truth of the light that we are, and the light of the truth that we are, helps us to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that we all are one.